Hey guys, welcome back to Good Life Farm. As you can tell by my pallor, which is quite flushed, I have been out here working. I just got done mowing all of this front garden area, the in-ground garden aisles. Haven't been doing anything with the in-ground garden this year. As you know, it's my year off. But I do still have to mow the walkways, simply because we've got little bitty bantam chickens that live in there, and they've got legs that are about that long, and if I don't keep it mowed, they can't walk it through there. So we do have to keep it mowed. It's been interesting as I go through there, seeing what volunteer plants have come back on their own. One of the raised beds out there has turned into a giant Tulsi basil patch, which I'm actually fine with. I think it would be perfectly acceptable to have a big Tulsi basil patch in one of the raised beds, because the in-ground beds, the first year that we put those beds in, we did till. We tilled the entire area and then created the walkways, the garden beds, and all of that. But from that point on, no tilling has taken place. I just go through and I use a broad fork, I aerate the soil in the spring, I fertilize with compost, all that good stuff, mulch it, etc. But I haven't tilled. However, I'll be quite honest, this year, because I've taken the year off and I have 100% neglected those beds, just let them go wild, I may have to till next spring. I don't know. I don't want to. We'll just see what happens. My plan is to take all of my perennial things, all of the things that I want to keep in those beds, and transplant them out here into, this will be the main garden. And just keep all those things. I've got like crimson coneflowers, and a few other things. I've got like some stone crop flowers, some of that Tulsi basil. You know, I plan on moving a lot of that in here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mow all that down. I'm going to layer those beds with thick layers of cardboard, and then hopefully that will be enough to squash all of those plants in there, all of the weeds that have just completely taken over, and we can kind of go from there, mulch it and all of that. If you've missed the plan, well, actually, why don't we go for a walk out there? So let me get a drink of water and then we'll head out to the other garden. He's like, what can I get into in here? Alright, so look at this jungle. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Isn't this crazy? This is what happens when you don't touch anything and you just leave it all alone. It is going to be a chore, though, to get my drip line system out of there. I mean, I know where it runs through, so, I mean, maybe it won't be too bad. But you can see a few volunteers coming up. There's all sorts of zinnias down in there, and I haven't planted zinnias in this garden in a few years. At least, you know, not in these beds. These are just volunteers, year after year after year, volunteer zinnias. By this point, they're a mix of all different types, so I think originally this cluster started off as, I think they're called Country Fair zinnias or something like that. I don't remember. Or maybe Cut and Come Again zinnias. Something like that. Right down there, that succulent looking plant, that is the stone crop flower that I was talking about. This fall, I'll dig that up and move it into the other garden. There's one right there, and there's another little one over there. I'll dig up some comfrey. My plan is actually to line the entire fence with comfrey, irises, lilies, all sorts of things that will just continue to grow and not need any maintenance. So this cluster down here is crimson coneflowers, and it is the echinacea type of flower. Again, this is a perennial. This is one of them that I'm going to move to the other garden. This is one of my 2 clusters of Tulsi basil, also called holy basil or sacred basil, and it is the most amazing smelling plant. When you are actively gardening and you come out here and you water this, the sweet fragrance that comes off this is just amazing. And I mentioned about the drought that we were having and how all of my comfrey out in the front was all laid down dead. But I mentioned that you really can't kill the stuff. Well, if you look right here, you see all this brown, dried up, dead, shriveled nothing. And then next to it, you've got fresh, bright green plants. And that is all the same plant, just coming back from the root system. Now that we got some water, it's just going to take off once again. And you can actually come out here and chop this entire plant down multiple times a year, and it'll just keep on growing. And all of this I use as a green mulch. You can either chop the plant down and lay it straight down around your other plants as mulch to fertilize it, or you can turn this into a compost tea. I actually have a video where I talk all about this. I will put a link to that down below if you are interested. Comfrey has a lot of great uses, not only for your garden, but it's also got some medicinal benefits, which I haven't really talked about. So you can see why I'm tempted to almost want to start completely from scratch and till when it comes to the spring, just to get control of this. But I'm hoping that I don't have to, and that all I need to do is mow it down and cardboard it and go from there. I mean, really, it will be kind of like starting from scratch, and you can always start a garden bed with cardboard that way. Of course, the challenge will just be getting the cardboard. So if I'm able to source it, that's what I'm going to do. Tilling would be a plan B and not optimal. But you know what? I'm not anti-tilling, and I'm not going to scorn somebody if they need to till. Sometimes that's what it takes to get you a garden, and if that's what it takes, then it's better to till and have a garden than not till and not have a garden. You do you. Now, if you were here last year for my garden tours, you know that I had okra all over the place, but I have not planted okra in a long time, just like I hadn't planted zinnias out here. And I said at the time, I'm like, once you plant okra, you're gonna have okra. I haven't planted okra in years. Do you see this? And this, and this. All of that is Tulsi basil, interspersed with weeds, of course. Right here, right here, right there, down there, over there. There is okra everywhere, and chances are, if I just leave those be, and I will since they're inside the bed, I might have some okra. So that raised bed there is the one that I put in last spring, and this is the one that I do plan on relocating. I'm going to pull these up and I'm going to take it over to the other garden and put it out there. And as you can see, it's been taken over by tons of weeds and centipede grass and ragweed, but there are a couple of volunteer zinnias in there. Oh, and by the way, we have 2 pigs left. They'll be gone soon, one way or another. I don't even want to talk about those. So it will be a challenge to get that garden back under control, but as you saw, I've got a plan and it should work. There will be a garden in there next year. And as I've shared in the past, the plan is for that to be all the low to no maintenance stuff that needs plenty of space. Sweet potatoes, maybe some regular potatoes, just squash, stuff like that. And so plenty of room on the ground for the sprawling plants, and all of this future garden for everything else. So thanks for hanging out with me here again today at A Good Life Farm. I will talk to y'all next time.